Welcome back. We're going to do our part 2 on recruiting and retention. And this time we're going to talk about scholastic groups, because the previous segment was on independent groups, and it's certainly very different in scholastic groups. So the scholastic groups obviously are coming out of school bands, high school band programs, where they already have a built-in support group, staff, and most important, the students. And they're kind of ready to go. So we did a survey of the scholastic directors at our WINS Advisory Board last May. And we got as many reasons for why they want to do WGI WINS as we had people there. And actually that's very terrific, because they're all doing it for different reasons. So I think that's the first place to start. Why do you want to have a WGI WINS group? And some of the areas we found were to give an opportunity for more WIN player instruction, practice, and therefore improvement. And to a person, everybody talked about how much their concert bands improved because of their participation in WGI WINS, and that's always been one concern that a lot of people have, but it's shown that it's really helping our concert bands rather than hindering them. Another thing to take a look at is what staff members are going to be involved. Many band directors are already swamped, keeping their heads above water with what they have, but a lot of the scholastic groups have secondary staff members, or maybe an assistant band director running the WINS group. Again, all kinds of variations on how they're doing it, and it all seems to work out pretty well. Another reason that they're doing it is people like the opportunity to perform in a smaller venue than an outdoor football stadium. And this is especially true of the smaller band programs, the smaller marching bands. They can easily get swallowed up in a football field, whereas performing in a gym floor, an arena, they can be very successful, and they can have that feeling of success because their sound is all kept in. And they found it very interesting to be participating on such an intimate arena where you actually see the faces of the audience, and that kind of changes the whole perception of the visual program and the musical program. Another group of directors kind of look at it as a training program for the younger members, whereas some WINS groups are taking the stronger members and really focusing on the higher level of competition. Some of them are using it for the younger developing members who want that opportunity. Some of them have found an opportunity for students who are not participating in other extracurricular activities, such as jazz ensemble, pep band, and so forth. Give them something to do in the winter and stay active. And most high school band kids really have loved watching the Winter Guard and the indoor drum line, and now that they can be a part of this also. So taking a look at selection, how are you going to select the kids? It seems like there was two approaches, and as I just alluded to, some want it to be for the more advanced students, in which case they probably are going to have an audition to get in and try to keep balanced instrumentation. The other approach is to just have a sign-up, and whoever shows up is in the group within reasonable limits of balanced instrumentation. And so everybody has a different approach to it, and they all seem to work. So when we get into the actual recruiting, getting the word out, there's the built-in clientele, if you will, that you have your band students every day, you see them every day. So generally at some point in time, typically the end of the marching band season, maybe a little before the end of the marching band season, to have a presentation to all the band students. Tell them this is what we're thinking about doing, this WGI WINS program, show some videos. If it's recruiting or continuing from a previous season where you're already involved, then show a video of last year's performance. If it's starting anew, then show video of the various other groups that were successful, scholastic groups that were successful, and just develop and create some excitement to be in that. Gee, I'd like to do that. That looks like a lot of fun and a great performance. Talk about the benefits of participation for the students. Talk about how much their individual playing can improve, gaining 3 to 6 hours a week of instruction and extra practice. Previous member testimonials is always good, again, for somebody who's done it before. So most bands seem to have a social media presence, and that's a great way to go, and urging the other students to share and get the word out that way. Still, posters seem to work in the band room, especially in regards to having a meeting for those, a second meeting for those who are further interested in participating. Word of mouth is still the best, and a lot of groups have been very successful doing that. Previous members, if you had a group before, everybody bring a new member next week, and that surprisingly works quite well. A lot of directors really like the emphasis of the woodwind instruments that's possible in the indoor arena. So they find that this is the opportunity to really encourage their woodwind players to be involved and become excited about this, because they have a chance to shine, and not just the brass and the drums. During the current season, in the middle of the current season, if you have a group going and you're thinking about recruiting for next year, certainly get the group out performing in the public, not just at competitions in the area, but performing for school events, for assemblies, maybe set up an assembly at the middle school, an opportunity to perform, or at basketball games, but just be out there in the community and show what a great group they have, and gosh, I'd like to be in that group. The challenges, and you have to talk about that and solve those problems when you're planning a WGI Wins group. Probably the biggest one is finding rehearsal facilities and rehearsal times, especially if there's a winter guard and or a winter drumline involved. That can be quite the challenge, but a lot of groups have done it. That's also one of the reasons some of the groups have gone to having one group where they might not have enough students to have a winter guard or a winter drumline, but doing a winds group where you incorporate both guard and drumline, you can certainly make that happen. So that's worked quite well. Setting up the rehearsal schedule, I looked at these surveys and I saw everything from groups practicing 4 hours a week to 9 hours a week. And generally people practice twice a week or 3 times a week. So it's not an overburden for a lot of these students. And again, they're getting instruction during that time and improving. Funding is, there's already a built-in program, sort of, with a band boosters group, in that they're used to supporting the band activities, and the important there is to plan and involve the band boosters way in advance. Next year we would like to have a WGI Wins group. This is the budget that it would take. This is how we could earn some of that money and plan ahead. But unlike an independent group that's totally independent, in other words, not involved with an indoor drum line or a drum corps, something like that, a truly independent group is kind of starting from scratch. But the system is already built into a band program. Retention, probably the most important thing about retaining the students. Once you start that first rehearsal, you start the season, or retaining them from the end of the first season to the second season. The most important thing is that they're getting quality instruction, and the students appreciate that. Of course, it needs to be an enjoyable experience. Some people say it's got to be fun, and to me the word enjoyable is a little bit better. A feeling of satisfaction, of completion, like you're making improvement, you're doing good work, you're getting better every week. I think those are the kinds of things that make kids want to come back week to week or year to year. A focus on the experience is important, the performance experience, and talking about that. I remember the first year some of the directors being surprised at the students being shocked that they were so close to the audience, and dealing with preparing them for that, but also talking about the excitement and the interest of that. And everything, of course, needs to be presented in a positive light. I think most contemporary band directors take a very positive approach to rehearsal. I think the days of yelling and screaming are pretty much gone. but that's important. And lastly, I would say the choice of music needs to be carefully planned, needs to be music that the students would find enjoyable. And by that I don't mean necessarily pop or rock music, but some kind of music that they would enjoy playing, not just for a week or two, but over the 3 or 4 months. In summary, planning is very important. Having a recruitment plan, meeting with the other staff members that are going to be involved and talk about all these various outlets and approaches to recruiting, having all of them being involved and spreading the good word. Demonstrate quality instruction once again in a positive atmosphere. Strive for students to achieve their potential and make them aware of how much better they're getting week to week and how that's going to carry over into their concert band, their jazz ensemble, and the next year's marching band. And finally, and it may seem obvious to say, but I don't want to skip it, is enjoy the experience. And not just the students enjoy the experience, but I think the staff needs to enjoy the experience. Thank you so much for watching. Hope these ideas help you, and look forward to seeing you this coming season.